Bytes. Today we are joined by Alain from Bureau Happold. Alain, welcome back for your regular monthly slot.
Thank you. Great to be back. I can't believe how quickly it moves. Um,
It does indeed. And we have some topics we will cover off with you because we have this ongoing thread about discussions that we've been having with Alain and how they develop over the months. And so we'll touch on a few of those points. But I think really the key discussion today is going to be around autonomy, because this has been a very interesting and exciting week for, well, even let's say more than that, month, maybe slightly longer, 6 weeks or so, or even year. I guess if you want to go that far, so far we're in August now, 8 months of, or
Say a
maybe even
decade.
2 or 3 or yeah. But no, it's definitely getting interesting. And so there's a few headlines there, and then we will also be joined on that topic by Kevin Peterson from Bedrock Robotics. We've done some work together earlier this month, which I will show you in a second, actually. And then also we will go a bit deeper with Kevin. And I think that will take us to the end of this episode. So, shall I draw everyone in with a small video? Last week I said I couldn't show it. This week I'm going to show it.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Okay, awkward silence time. I should have had this
we like
ready.
we like a video, especially if it has robots.
Oh yeah, exactly. It does have. Well, I guess I don't know if you can say
It's actually
robots, but
autonomous decade. In 2020, Waymo started first commercial robotaxi. So
there you go.
it's been 6 years.
Here's the tease. You ready?
Yeah.
For us, fully driverless means there is nobody in the cab.
I thought it was amazing. You could take technology of construction and meld them together to have machine run independent by itself. It means more time with family, being able to enjoy other things.
In 5 years, it's teams of machines operating across the site, coordinating, orchestrated, and doing entire jobs.
$150 robots to 110,000 pound machines. So we're only going one direction.
I wasn't expecting to be very impressed, but I was. A machine on our job site running autonomously for several hours with no one inside. You better get on board.
When is soon, Owen?
When is soon?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you're putting me on
Coming
the spot.
soon.
I don't have a date yet, I'm afraid. We are working through it right now. These things take some time to get right, so it's an ongoing process. But that was a trailer that we released on Monday, and now hopefully more people have seen it than who had seen it on Monday.
Mhm.
And what was
uh,
the news? What
yeah,
is the news?
yeah. So the news from Bedrock's perspective, we'll hear more from Kevin later, was that they are now actively deployed on live customer projects throughout the US. So you saw one of the customers there, a guy called Trey from Champion Site Prep, who are working on some huge projects. That's all I will say, in Texas. So maybe that gives away what they might be. And then also Zachary Construction, Sun Construction, now actively using Bedrock's technology on their sites. So that was one piece of the news of around the autonomy world. Then there was another whopping announcement on the same day, near enough at the exact same time. And I can't figure out whether this was coincidental or measured. But you would have maybe seen the news that Gravis Robotics, who are a European-based robotics company, also creating autonomy for heavy machinery, they announced a $200 million round, $200 million investment. I think they called it a Series A. In fact, yes, they did, and it was by SoftBank, and they claimed that the largest Series A round in construction robotics in history. And for people, well, they're a spin out of ETH Zurich, one of the well-known universities for robotics across Europe. And then a few weeks before that, we had Terra Firma, another autonomous sister company, who I think was like $150 million or so, $150 million Series A. And then I have a bunch of other names, which we'll get to in a second. But exciting times, don't you think?
I'm trying to process how to understand, right? Because we have this exponential view that things are suddenly, and then exponentially, inevitably comes,
Yes.
right? And so drones are robots, and excavators that are autonomous are robots. They're single task robots. The last time I saw an autonomous machine like this was in a site visit in 2001, where fully autonomous Cat 797 were running in Indonesian mines. So we had fully autonomous mining equipment in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's suddenly, it's growing. Here we are, 25 years later, and I don't think the news is that a truck can run autonomously in a construction site within a constrained environment with no legal framework encompassed onto that on that environment. It's like that can't be the news. And maybe the news is that there is conviction in capital to go and invest because they believe that this is going to now scale. Maybe the news is that the regulatory environment has shifted, that we can make it compatible with humans and construction sites that are unsupervised. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I think that we are in an exponential world where inevitably we are converging towards what Westworld shows as terraforming, right? So in Westworld, the game environment is being created by the robotic humanoids and other systems that have become fully autonomous in the future and are creating the built world for the players, Westworld. It's a great analogy. So really understanding where we are in that progression towards a terraforming of Westworld, and why is it that on the same day nearly we get all this capital committed with conviction to this category that has existed for 25 years.
Great observations. Let me just add something, then I'll ask mine. But just very quickly, a lot of reasons why it's used, Elaine, is because of the technology. So the technology that has come out of companies like Waymo, where the founders of Bedrock were before, is now so good or so advanced to a level that it makes sense for it to now work on construction sites, which are just much more complex than I'm not talking from firsthand experience here, but from what I understand, more complex than, say, a mining quarry, where you have like lots of people moving around. The conditions are continuously changing from various angles. And so like the technology is now there. And this can also be illustrated by a company called Built Robotics, who were very early going into this autonomous excavation space, and have somewhat pivoted away from there because of like timing maybe was slightly off for them. They're still around, they're still doing things, but yeah, more recently this stuff can now be done. But yeah, interesting. What's your expression? Slowly, exponentially,
and then inevitably.
Mhm.
I think it's the inevitability that we really need to surface, because it is inevitable that these things are going to happen. And I think the real news is about conviction. I think technical readiness, like the cost to serve, the cost to execute, is important. I think that the trust can you have the trust and the regulatory environment to make it happen? And then is the speed of absorption, because ultimately we've had technologies that have been ready for a long time, but maybe the regulatory absorption environment is blocking it, or simply the market ain't there to provide return to capital. And if there is a conviction in capital that now the baseline to compete as a GC is to have autonomous vehicle, because you're going to run out of people and you won't be able to deliver construction without autonomous vehicle, that completely restates the economics of I've got one, but actually everybody's buying it, rather than I've got one and then I have to convince people to buy it. And we've seen that a lot in technology, where we've got a ready technology, but the market's not yet interested. And then suddenly there's a pivot in the market conviction, and that then means people are buying. And so your cost of sale and the growth rate supports the reduced cost of sale, and the growth rates mean that actually it becomes investable by risk capital.
Yeah, it's interesting for me from 2 points of view. One is what's the level of autonomy for these vehicles and robots? Is it the case like with in case of a like a robot taxi, when you place the address and it takes you to the address, so basically, and you can't ask the driver to, okay, let me just stop in the shop and pick up some stuff, or so is it this type of autonomy where you set up a task and the device, the machine is working through a task, or is it more like a kind of ChatGPT or Claude type of machine, when you can actually communicate on a live basis with the machine, and it can change the course and it can now pick up this, drop that, and that's what I'm thinking. Like where are we right now in terms of how?
Yeah, it's fully autonomous, man.
Yeah, if I fully autonomous, like, as in like intelligent. If I speak to it, also please drive there and pick up these two pallets of.
Kevin.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yes, I will ask. As like when we think about like large infrastructure projects, the simple use case, kind of like a robot taxi, is, I'm sure it's there. It's probably the easiest, the first thing that people would like work on. But then when we look at like more constrained sites, we all live in England, so like smaller UK sites, there's a project now next to where I live. There's a small site in Victoria, 2 towers, block of flats, or 3, I think, towers, and there's probably like 7, 8 excavators there, right? And there's several 8 excavators, 2 piling rigs, and it's less than a hectare of land, right? So can we get autonomy to sites like that? That's one thing. Another thing that I'm thinking about is all of the investors I looked for that invested in Gravis Robotics and Bedrock Robotics. They are all like anchor investors, are large general investors like SoftBank or Capital G, which is Alphabet and Google. And Ventures, which is Nvidia's vehicle. So, shame that we don't have our favorite investor here. We could ask him, but how this landscape is looking like from Contech investors' point of view. Obviously, it's very capital intensive to spend the whole fund on the one investment. It's probably impossible. But how the investors view this capital allocation into larger robotics platforms?
And I think one question that we should ask from our favorite investor is also, what's the investment conviction and thesis, right? So when I invest in Waymo, I'm not investing in a car company. I'm investing into personal mobility, because by the time the technology works, and I've wedged myself through the taxi category. I'm not going to sell taxis to taxi companies. That's not. I'm reinventing mobility. In fact, I'm reinventing the category that will displace personal cars. Is the total category is human mobility, and my chosen mode could be a scooter or a train, or calling an autonomous vehicle that moves me that kilometer. So it's the human kilometer is the category. It's not the car anymore. And it just so happened that for a very long time, the car company extracted value from our mobility needs by selling us a physical asset. Now they're going to sell a service, and the TAM is immense. And so the wedge here is interesting of the autonomous excavator. First, is the market the excavator, or is the market excavation? And I believe that they're investing in excavation, not in excavators. And
it's for sure.
Yeah,
it's for sure more profitable.
models.
It's more profitable for the company that sells it.
And then the
question. Go ahead.
Your question, I think that autonomy wedge is, what else will they do? Once they've done excavation, what will they do next?
Yeah, well, into other machinery. Well, the planet. We'll hear from Kevin in a second, but into other types of machinery, and then orchestrated machinery across the entire job sites. But interesting point, like to what you're saying, excavation versus excavator, because what you're also probably going to see is we've noticed with a few robotics companies offering the service, so the outcome, right? And you're going to see that these companies are like full-on subcontractors or trade contractors that are just, well, let's just say, in air quotes, fully autonomized. And how do these companies compete against the human equivalent from a quality, time, availability, schedule perspective, contractual, etc.? I definitely do not know the answer to this question, but it's just an interesting thought.
It is, isn't it? And it the autonomy intelligence is a form of physical AI, and just linking back to earlier, ultimately the understanding of the construction site as a physical process and as a physical environment is indeed the next frontier. So the intelligence and the value of the company is understanding the space in which it's operating and understanding the process, excavation in this case, that it is delivering. And I think that therefore these companies are really wedges into physical AI, into construction sites. And it just happens to run on an excavator. But what's next, right? The category then becomes really immense and justifies it's not just a new excavator, it's actually an autonomy layer that will over time eat the execution of the site from inside with a combination of autonomy, logic, physical AI, and robotics.
Let's bring Kevin in, shall we?
Yep. No, make him wait.
Kevin.
Hey. Owen, how you
How's
doing?
it going, man?
Great.
Good, good to see you.
Martin, Elaine, good to see you guys as well. How you guys doing?
Good to see you.
Good. I just showed everyone before you came on our trailer that we done, so your face is already familiar to our audience today, which is just makes things easier.
Sweet.
Last time we were in 100-degree heat in Austin, so, and I think that since then the news has come out. So Kevin, you may as well give us a lowdown on what you are announcing, or what you have announced this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So this week we announced we're fully autonomous on customer sites. So no driver, no operator, no oversight. The machines are running themselves, paying customers, doing real work all day, every day. So big moment for us.
Nice. Martin, you had a weird question. You can ask your weird question
Yes.
first.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so like if you could just bring a little bit closer, what is the definition of autonomy in this
Yeah.
case? And also, so when I think about autonomy, I think about two things. Is it like you ordering an autonomous taxi? So you basically tell them where you are and where you want to go, and it gets you there, and you cannot do anything in between while speaking to it, for example, or maybe you can you can ask your robot to get from one place to another, but in between you can keep asking and prompting for other things because things changed or whatever the need is.
Yeah. So by autonomous, we mean you can define a task, you assign it to a machine, to an excavator in this case, and then it performs that task. And at the moment, we're doing big cut and fill operations. So that task might be you have a hill, you want to lower it to a certain level, and that's the job. And then a machine will start doing it. You can intervene. So if you want to like change that task, you can totally do it. Yeah, you're basically saying, okay, here's a terrain, and it reads the terrain, and then you go to the goal.
Yeah.
And is it the way that you have to like load like a new kind of map, or how does the definition of a new task look like? Is it like speaking to it, and then based on that, it can I'm completely, is it like a chat GPT that you can open up the dictation and speak to it? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so we're working on some of the dictation stuff, but today you don't talk directly to the machine. It looks like StarCraft actually. There's like a user interface that has a bunch of excavators on it, and you assign jobs to the excavators. You click on the excavator, you say, okay, go do this thing, and then it's looking at the terrain. It's looking at all the people around it. It's looking at the machines that are coming, and making decisions about everything it needs to do. So there's a bunch of interactivity, like a truck will come up, you're loading a truck. There's an interaction between the truck and the excavator. They actually communicate back and forth. So there's that kind of interaction. And then, of course, it's seeing everything in the environment. So responding to the terrain, responding to, if a bulldozer drives up, it'll respond to that bulldozer, things like that.
Yeah, I think also it's important to clarify a point here, because the software, like, people obviously think Bedrock heavy autonomous heavy machinery, and you have that the illustration in your mind of these big excavators digging, but the software piece is not to be forgotten about. And I almost forgot it when we were in that control room. I call it the control room. You can call it whatever, but you probably have another term, Kevin. I felt like I was in like the middle of the space, like a NASA mission control with these screens and like all this software, and like some of the UI that I could see, and like how the sensors were sensing people and stuff nearby was very impressive. So like, don't forget the software piece.
Yeah. So you can that control center is how we set the tasks. Basically you're sitting in a trailer or an office, and you can assign tasks to these machines and manage them that way. It's super fun, and we you sort of get to see what's going on a bunch of different construction sites and run them. It's very cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Kevin, how about so the same day that obviously the autonomy space now is becoming very exciting, and lots of I guess you could say competitors, correct me if I'm wrong here, but cover companies coming into the space. On the same day you announced, we mentioned this earlier, but Gravis also announced a $200 million round from SoftBank. So what's your kind of viewpoint on the evolving competitive landscape?
Yeah. My basic view here is construction is an incredibly exciting and huge market, and autonomy is obviously an important part of it. And so people are going to get excited about it, and we're starting to see that. The Gravis announcement, I think, just indicates that we're in the right area. we're going to see more and more investment in the space. For Bedrock, we're just going to run as fast as we can and build some awesome products to launch and get everybody excited about it, get them out in the field, and keep our heads down, run our race.
Keep on rolling.
I think it's really, it's really exciting, and to connect it to the conversation we were having a bit earlier, because we were reasoning and preparing. I'm hearing autonomous excavation. I'm not hearing autonomous excavator, and that's hugely exciting. And I have like two questions. The breakthrough for you, was it like thousands of small breakthrough to get there, or was there like two big breakthrough that unlocked it? And then in terms of key ratios, Waymo always talks about evolving the human to vehicle ratio, and is there a similar kind of indicator you following, or could you bring this to life?
Yeah. It really is like 1,000 little things along the way. We're moving really, really fast. So every week, every 2 weeks, there's a new surprise. There are a couple of things that have been kind of big moments. One is on the safety side, getting to the point where we're confident that we can detect people and the vehicles around us, and that we safely react. When you safely react, one thing that you might try to do is just stop the machine. And the challenge with that is it might be in a precarious position, right? Like you've got the bucket out with a lot of dirt, and you want to move it into like a safe config. And so you're like really thinking through how the vehicle reacts when somebody walks up, or there's crazy geometry around the machine. We've got examples where people are down in trenches, like moving pipes around and collaborating with the machine. And so when you look at what we're showing publicly, it's fairly simple, flat open field. There's not a lot of complexity to it, but in reality, behind the scenes, we're able to handle these like crazy situations. And you have to get to that level of safety to be able to launch these things. And so that's sort of like thing number one. That, of course, has been 2 years of work, and many pieces that had to come together to make that happen. But there was a moment, a couple months ago, where that started to really get to a good point. And the other is getting the behaviors to do what we want and training them, and really getting them to be precise, and getting the precision into the system is it's 15 different things that are all very complex. The calibration of the machine, our estimation of where that machine is, our understanding of how the machine moves, and you give it a command, it does something. We need that to be really, really precise. Understanding of intent. So when, for example, a truck is waiting and it's not next to the machine, is it waiting because we're doing something, or is it waiting because they need to do something differently? And a lot of times, if you don't do the behaviors right, the excavator will, excavators doing a bunch of operations that a person wouldn't do, the truck driver will stay away because they think the machine's not ready. So getting that interaction to work really well has been a big thing. And getting out into the field is the thing that really teaches you how to do those things. So getting to the point where we can do something reasonably productive, even with a person in the seat, gave us the opportunity to then iterate in the field, improve, and learn all the lessons that you need to learn to get these things to run on their own.
I think I've got a question. I asked you this when we were together, Kevin, but one, I don't know if it will be in the final cut, but two, I think it's important. It's a great one for people to hear. So for the context,
you're asking him to correct his answer? No,
nothing like that. It's well, I hope you say the same thing. It's a test, but we would never know.
Oh boy, what's this question?
We would never know. Here we go. No, well, obviously you and your team come from Waymo, and
yeah,
for largely responsible for a lot of the technology behind Waymo. So what's harder, building for the car industry or for the construction industry?
Yeah,
For the car industry
I
is
really
quite
think
tough.
of them as different. Self-driving cars are all about safety and long tail safety, and you're launching a city or all of highway driving, and people are actually incredible drivers. Like the fatal accident rate for cars is 1 per 100 million miles, and so in your lifetime you might drive 1 million miles if you are like a serious driver and you drive every day. And that's in the US. So like you don't really see those things until you drive a lot. And so self-driving is really about solving those tail cases and solving for the safety. Construction is about the behaviors, and safety is incredibly important to us. We have to be safe. There's people and vehicles and those kinds of things around us, but we can generally stop the machine and do something different. And so it really is sort of the interactivity of the machine, the ability for it to understand what's going on around it, to understand the tasks. We're getting more and more complicated tasks, by the way. Owen, at some point, I'll show you some of the UI stuff that we've developed. I think it's really fun. And I don't think that was ready when you were out, but it's about understanding the world. And our tail is all the sort of like crazy things that are happening that people do. They pick up logs. They dig around rocks. They collaborate. They crane pipes, and incredibly interactive things. So our tail is really about the behavior and the productivity, and we manage that by finding scopes that are very achievable at first. So we do these like big cut fill operations right now, and then we're going to graduate the behavior over time and over time and over time. And then the other dimension that's different is like collaboration and orchestration of the machines. As Elaine was saying, it's excavation, it's not excavators. And so as we move forward, getting all of those machines to work together and automating them will be a big deal. So combination of bulldozer, truck, excavator, and maybe a few other machines will be really important very soon.
Yeah, nice. Guys, Kevin has a hard stopper in like 2 minutes, so last question. Alan, I think maybe it'll be interesting for your one that you're talking about the physical AI. I can't word it as eloquently as you, but you go.
Fascinated to hear, and it's 200% what we were talking about. It's a wedge into physical AI, and I think you highlighted, and I don't want to put words in your word. I'd love to hear about those behavior, and then you have that physical behavior of the machine and the task. But I think you've mentioned the word behavior so many times, and I think that talks to the physical construction processes and the orchestration that the human instinctively does. I'd love to hear from you, how you've approached it from a AI technology point of view, and do you think that that's something really specific to the industry and how that might scale?
Yeah. So there's pieces that are really fundamental physical AI approaches that are sort of like coming up in industry right now and in research. And the way that I kind of think about it is these are big machines. And so you need the safety of a self-driving car. But on the other hand, you want the creativity of an LLM. Like you want to be able to talk to it, and you want the machine to do whatever you ask it to every 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you need, right? And the way that we do that is we train a big model that we train it very similar to how you train an LLM. We train it on a ton of data, this big like repository of know-how about how construction works, and we're building the biggest repository, biggest knowledge base of construction that's ever been built in the world. And then we take that, we put all of that data into the training system, and it knows kung fu. But sometimes there's behaviors in there that aren't great. We call them adversarial behaviors, and we need to do post training, very similar to an LLM, to take those out, and then also we wrap it with a safety layer that prevents bad actions that we know are bad. So things like collisions and tip over, we control for. And so it's really like a mix of the self-driving world and the LLM world. And I think it's different from some other physical AI environments. So if you've got a really small machine, I don't know, you've got like a vacuum cleaner with an arm on it, you can pick up socks. Like safety is much less of an issue.
I think physical AI, you are confirming to me that physical AI is such a big category that segments, right? So we're seeing task robots and there's physics there.
Yeah.
And we're seeing sense making and, Thales and Weld Labs, and they're trying to make sense of 3D. And we've got spatial intelligence in design or understand the logic of the built world.
Yeah.
And then now you're talking about the behavioral and the construction logic of how do I do a cut and fill, and how do the machine collaborate with the humans, which is another physical AI logic. And so physical AI, when it comes to the built world, really splits quickly into different world models and different physical AI. So a really interesting topic. And frontier. I think drone deploy acquisition by Procore. I think we should ask Procore what they are happy to tell us.
Yeah, we'll find out soon. All right, Kevin, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to getting the film out, and we'll see you soon. Yeah,
amazing, wonderful to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Kevin. Bye.
Good night. Okay, very cool.
Damn it, I had a very good 2 questions.
You can email them to him.
I think it's really, really fascinating. I think we've met this physical AI world and autonomy world prior, right? So if you look at it from a point of view of the valuation of Waymo and its autonomy layer, now its valuation can be taught in terms of the TAM, which is the millions of miles and miles or kilometer of passenger transported. That's kind of your TAM, and you can talk about that. But you also can think about it into the physical understanding of what Waymo has built,
exactly,
which is pavement to pavement, right?
Yep.
Of the whole world. Yes, there are lots of roads, but it understands a very controlled environment between the curb and the curb, and what's happening in these few square kilometer or square miles on Earth, which we call roads. As soon as you start going construction, you've left that controlled environment that is predictable, change very slowly. And you're in a completely different logic, and learning that logic of what's beyond the curb, like in a construction site or inside of an airport, it's learning a completely new physics, logic, behavior of participants.
And it took way more. Yeah, go on. And it took Waymo almost a decade to put cars on the road, which in a very controlled environment, if you talk about curb to curb. So my dream of talking to an excavator and excavator doing exactly what I want exactly at the same time, it's probably a long journey.
Yep. Hence why maybe the valuations and the amount of funding is justified. By the way, someone else interesting who is really going into this space now to draw more attention to the idea of physical AI is, I don't know if you've been following, but Travis Kalanick, the founder of Uber, is back with his start. Well, he's not. Back is probably not the right term, but he's been doing much more publicity of late, talking about this physical AI transformation and how they map that physical world and move atoms. Atoms is the name of the company, and they're focusing on better food preparation and delivery, mining, and transport. And he done a great presentation at their launch event, which is on YouTube, which I would highly recommend people watch to try and understand this space a little bit better, because it is a little bit of an esoteric term still, physical AI and moving of the physical world, but it's becoming extremely relevant and people should know.
It actually annoys me, this term, physical AI.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Just the robotics, no? Intelligent robotics. And it's like when you're buying a toy 20 years ago, the toy, if you press the button, the toy was doing just one thing: screaming, giving it a light, whatever, right? There's no intelligence, just but
I think it's mathematics. It comes from academia, right? So ultimately, we had really good results with classifier and neural networks giving us classifier. We have had really good results with mathematics that gives us stable diffusion and Gaussian splatting. And then we now had really good results with the mathematics of transformer that's giving us a next word predictor and what we're doing with that. Then when you come to the mathematics of the physical world, we you have the world models idea of a new mathematics, and that is really what physical AI implies, is a new mathematics that looks at meshes or geometries or physical behaviors.
How the world works.
Of how the world works, and yes, it then powers and generalizes what you're talking about. A robot that is general and can interpret its task, and it's a new type of mathematics that needs closed loops that are different and reinforcement training models that are different.
That's fair enough. But I just think that 5-10 years from now, it will be just a robot. There will be no concept of physical AI in the mainstream. Like right now, we can hear it everywhere.
So, yeah, I think that it is 200% that like technology subsumes, and then in the end it's called Siri, and that used to be AI, and I think that indeed task robot and more general robots and physical activities done by robots, it won't be called physical AI. There's a class of mathematics embedded in there that we won't be talking about physical AI, but I think the same mathematics is going to be into, for example, design systems and planning systems and reasoning systems that might not have any physical activity attached to them. And that I suppose is I think, speaking as somebody is thinking about the built environment, what's the gameplay, what's the program, what's the logic of construction, etc. We still need the same AI, let's call it physical AI, to reason on spatial problems, which an LLM can't do. Like reading a drawing, there are things that an LLM does and a classifier does, but it still can't understand the logic of a kitchen is next to a core, because it doesn't have the physical understanding of the core is the vertical distribution of systems that come into the kitchen, and therefore the kitchen needs to be next to the core. That needs to be machine learned, and it won't emerge from machine learning pixels. And so that I suppose is the frontier we do talk about and we do care about in the construction and engineering and built world as well.
Hey, Alain, do you need to go now? Do you have another 10 minutes?
I can keep going for if you have a few more minutes.
We will quick fire your last, because we said we would do your update quickly. So let me quick fire the key topics from our ongoing threads. World models, as we're on that topic. Last time we spoke, or as our conversations have been developing, we said there were a few years off. Obviously, the discussion, the funding, the momentum, the attention is starting to accelerate around the idea of world models. Do you think that we're still years off?
I think that general world model, we are still we're still quite far off. For the use cases that I care about, understanding the logic of the city, the logic of the building, the logic of the construction site. But as we've just heard, like they are emergent, right? They are real. They are training, and they're training. They've got a physical AI that understands the tipping. They have got a physical AI that is understanding the behavior of the machine and how they're going to collaborate. And so these world models are very much happening. So
Yeah.
yes, this I confirm that I see them coming. I see the investment arriving.
Let's continue. Okay. Last time we did chatted, you mentioned about this. We talked about the Maintain X acquisition or from Autodesk. Since then, we also previous to that discussed some other consolidation. But since we last spoke, Drone Deploy were acquired by Procore. Your take?
Yes, it's in play, right? I think it's fascinating. Big capital is coming, and we keep on saying, this is happening. It's inevitable, but then it's good to see the validation that it does happen. The Drone Deploy acquisition is a really interesting one to observe. I don't have an insight. I just do know that if the construction site is run by Procore, and Procore has already got these millions of customers and millions of users, I don't think they bought other users or commercial access. They bought the data. They bought the data. And if we think about closing the loop, right? If you think about what Martin Fisher talks about, learning system and persistent platform that allows you to capture knowledge and compound knowledge. I had something to be designed. I put it in the platform. I transmitted it to my sub. My sub asked some question. I'm now machine learning that. Then the sub actually says, here, I've got, with True Drone Deploy, I've got what's there. I add that to this. Then the GC or its design team reverts and shows what's and then they go and install it, and you capture it. You're starting to close the loop on, I send a signal this way, and this what happened, and then I send a new signal, and they really can start machine learning the construction process activity and machine learning the documents that are going with it, but the physicality of what's actually happening in the site. And I think that is a very interesting opportunity for them.
I guess the argument then is whether they learn it or whether they acquire another company to learn it for them and do something with it. But yeah.
Or do they build an internal AI team that scales and machines learn and create in the same way as we just heard from Kevin that they are building the models. Building models at a certain level requires requires a lot of data.
Yeah. Okay. Last two ones then, very quickly. Procore obviously launched digital co-workers package. I think it was announced a couple of weeks ago. Integration with DataGrid. Package agents, good or bad? Well, maybe good or bad is a wrong thing. As a potential buyer and even user of these, Alain, in the seat that you sit, what do you think?
I think deployable. I think what's really interesting about agentic AI is that it's behaviors that are deployable and really it makes it more explicit to me, and this is something we're working at, understanding the difference between the task and the job. And so the human is trusted with the job. The agent can have can have a automation purpose and getting the task done. And so with getting that to understand that there are deployable methods for technology, let's call that agentic AI, to automate and increase productivity. That's really clear. And then separate the role of the human is to oversee that the task is done correctly and make and remain trusted. Because I don't think that the silicon is trusted. I don't think Procore has PI, and it itself has hallucination. So when we say human in the loop, what we mean is trust. I'm buying an outcome, and the human's going to assure and have a viable outcome, and the agent is just going to be there to make that outcome quicker, faster, better, deeper, more sophisticated.
Yeah, nice. Okay, very last one then. Knowledge arbitrage. I don't know if arbitrage is the right word that I'm trying to get at here, but the discussions we've been having is about what happens when this knowledge leaves the industry. Do you have the magic pill yet?
No magic pill. No magic pill.
One day you will say yes,
well,
and I hope you
yes.
reveal it here.
I think it's knowledge capture first. It's knowledge capture, right? Ultimately, who do you trust to do the job? And that then decomposing tasks. But who do you trust to deliver that job? Who do you trust to give that job to? Is it insured? Is it backed by experience? And critical judgment, and then but the knowledge that this is done on, there is some commodity knowledge, and there is no arbitrage there. There used to be an arbitrage. The consultants used to be an arbitrage firm based on very little knowledge in the customer. Now there is a lot of knowledge in the customer, so really the consultants has to make sure that its knowledge is in excess of what's available publicly and what is generic knowledge. And I think that's what we're talking about, the shift in knowledge arbitrage and the shift towards better. Because if commodity is generic and available for free, therefore then everybody that gave you a generic answer is out of business, which is great, because it means that actually we're going to get better answers.
Yep. Yeah, and this discussion is definitely building momentum as well with Palantir. They're even going on this whole drive about this sovereign AI now, and I've seen a specific campaign from them about this.
Yes.
So interesting to see.
Investor talk about alpha. What's the alpha of the company? What they mean by that is what is their basis to outperform, and that has to be their proprietary knowledge, and how have you encoded that, and how you make that available to every job. That's how where Apple wants to think, is to make sure that every job is as good as it can be in a world where generic knowledge is available. So that must be at the fingertips of every human on earth. And then there is the specific firm knowledge that that is being compounded and brought to that job, and that is the alpha for the projects, the alpha for the firm.
Nice. Martin, you want some closing
Alain,
statements?
Alain, so what's the consultant arbitrage moving forward? If the end user can have the same knowledge as the consultant,
no, this
in
is the point.
era,
they can't.
No. So what is that? Where is the arbitrage? Like what's the edge of the consultant
in the knowledge
moving forward?
So yeah, I think you are you're putting your finger on if the knowledge is generic, then the only arbitrage is the insurance, possibly the trust. Do I trust the answer? Have I critically reviewed the answer? This AI system has designed an MEP system, let's say, or a firefighting system. Can I trust that answer? No, I need somebody that I can trust. I need to have a human have looked at it that says critically, yes, this answer is correct. So you have to have a human. You might hire that human, or you might ask a consultant to be that human. The second thing is actually, to be able to operate or to be invested or to be built, he's going to need to be insured. So you've got the trust of the human and the insurance of the firm. You can onboard that as a client, or you can ask the consultants to do it. And then it says, and we've built 500. We've implemented them, and we know the lessons learned from having done 500. which we know and is not available generically. That is the arbitrage. If you've built 20 arenas in the UK, and you've known the delivery issues, have you known the acoustic outcomes, and you've known the turnstile revenue, and you've known the operational turnover because an arena needs to turn over an act and a band overnight, and if you've got all this operational knowledge that is not available in textbooks, then you become a valuable consultant. And I'd like to think that that's how a good consultant gets appointed, not simply because it has a human and it has BI. That doesn't make great arenas.
Very
So
nice.
the layer of experience is still important. Yeah. Well, if you ask me for my closing thoughts, Owen, my closing thoughts is I would like to see purposely built AI, which is decreasing the cost of the outcome for the buyer significantly, rather than seeing increased inflated prices of software packages without any promise of decreased price of the outcome. You guys talked about the Procore, right? So Procore currently is more expensive than it used to be. Yeah, so I would love to speak with people who actually use it, and is there a tangible decrease in the output that these people do day to day on site by using these tokens, and or it is just opportunity to make some more money off the subscriptions.
Yes. Well, Martin, it's a fantastic question. I think we should leave it at that. If anyone has any answers, then let us know. Also, shout out to Academic Mailbox, who added some comments in the chat here. The alpha and the beta are terms that come from finance theory. So, Alain, you're correct, apparently. Hedge funds and private equity approach investing decisions in the way that you mentioned. Sounds like you have a professional and strong background in financial investing. Alain is your man. Right, guys. Thank you.
Our favorite investor guides us.
All right. Well, I guess next time I see you, Alain, we'll be in Las Vegas. So looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
See ya.